Well, welcome everybody. We'll get underway shortly, just looking at people coming into our webinar space here. What I will do is I will share my screen so that you can see that we're all here, and my team are going to look out for me and make sure that I've got the right display happening. So thank you for being able to join us on our webinar, which is looking at future strategies or strategies for future skill development, and absolutely crucial in this given time that our young people are needing to develop these future skills. And often when I read, it says future skills, but really they're the skills they need right now. They're the skills that they need to help them during this time. So I'm Karen Bonanno from the Genius School, and I'm just going to give you some information here about what we will cover during this broadcast. So we're going to be looking at the importance of developing future skills for lifelong success, and also the need to prepare young people for the future world of work, looking at some strategies for how to learn, particularly in that first step of self-awareness, because it's important for our young people to be able to have this sense of value and worth, particularly in the given moment of our time. And it's how to boost their confidence and set themselves up for success. Then looking at self-expression, learning strategies to unlock creative superpowers. Self-mastery is how to develop some of those higher order thinking skills, some of those enterprise skills, the future skills as I referred to. And then looking at the Genius School solution, and I'll give you more information on that shortly. But I'd need to, it takes some time just to introduce the co-founder and leader of the Genius School, and that is Angie Stead. And Angie has a number of early childhood centres within New Zealand, and also early childhood programs that she provides. So Angie is the co-founder and leader of the Genius School. And then there's yours truly, Karen Bonanno, and I am a global genius educator with the Genius School, as well as the Young Entrepreneur Academy leader. So that's the team, and we have other team. We've got on board helping me today, I've got Susan, who's also a genius educator, and Penny, who is our community support and also part of the wider Genius group. And so that brings me to this point about, well, where does Genius School fit and what is it all about? Genius School is a group and an education movement that is focusing on the development of our young people in providing them with personalised learning pathways to help them to develop their independent learning skills that will stay with them for a lifetime. And Genius School provides micro courses, it provides micro schools, it also provides various programs where we are engaging with our young youth and helping them to develop their understanding of who they are, how they show up, how they develop their self-awareness and their skills and capabilities that will help them to move forward. And you might think, well, why are we using the term genius? Because that starts to create some images in our minds. But to really understand the true meaning of genius within the context of the Genius School, it goes right back to ancient Roman times, where they believed that we were born with this unique spirit or personality within us, and that it stayed with us for our whole life. So I'll refer here to some Latin terms, and I'm not conversed with Latin. It was not a language that I was exposed to in my younger days, but it's important for us to often go back to the origin of the words that we're using, and genius is one of those. So it comes from two Latin terms of genius as above, and then ingenium, in a related noun which talks about your innate dispositions, what you are born with, your natural talents that you have, and it's your inborn nature. And so we have here this blending of concepts, the concept of divine as above, and also our talents. So they're their natural gifts and capabilities and strengths and talents that we have, that we are born with, that we carry through our life. And what has happened over the years, as we've progressed through history, we've done some different twists and turns on the word genius. And so sometimes we've lost that original terminology, which gives us the sense of what it is to be a genius. And you might be aware that the word genes comes from that Latin term as well. So it's something that we're born with. And that's the focus of Genius School. We work at identifying the natural capabilities and talents of our young people, and then we engage them in various programs to bring them through. And I'm going to be sharing with you some of the strategies that we use, but also share some of the programs that we're involved in. This particular quote by Albert Einstein is something that resonates, I think, with many of us, where we consider, well, where are we at with our current education structures and systems? So education is what remains after one has forgotten everything learned at school. And there's this difference between what is schooling, what is learning, what is education. And so for Genius School, we actually teach our students how to think, not what to think. We provide them with structures and frameworks and learning strategies that help them to navigate how they learn at their best, how they learn how to learn. And these are skills then that stay with them for life. It's not just something that's taught in a moment, it's something that goes well and truly beyond that. And so we're preparing students with skills for the future to become lifelong learners. Now, what I'm wanting to do, I see that we've got some information happening in our chat with Zoom. We've also got our Facebook page. So Susan, if you can put our Facebook group in there as well, so that people have a couple of options of where they may want to be engaged. But it would be great to know who's here with us online, where you're from, and if you have children of your own that you're here looking at, well, what is it that we're discovering on this journey? Because we're going to give you some tips and strategies that you can take away and that you can use with your children. And even if you have children with you, please invite them to join you as well for this particular broadcast. So here we go from this, we're preparing lifelong learners. And why are we doing this? Why are we working in Genius School to develop these personalised learning pathways? Well, the problem that we see is with our current education systems, they're working on a basis of one size fits all. Now, it is necessary in a way because they're dealing with, a great number of students, but also too, they're working with a traditional framework, which is now no longer serving us in the best way possible. It's not serving us because it's setting kids up for a job, not necessarily for creating an opportunity and a future for them. Also, we're finding that some of the examinations, some of the assessments, some of the testing, this one size fits all is not meeting all the learning needs of our diverse learners that we have. And so it's not preparing kids for the jobs of the future. It's preparing them for something that is probably in a past context. And as you can see there with the figures, we've got 165 million globally are out of work today. And so our education frameworks and systems are not serving us in the best way possible. We find that some kids are just not fitting in with the schooling. They're actually not fitting in with the way classrooms are functioning. They're struggling. And so we are providing from the Genius School a parallel pathway that will help kids to be able to become independent learners and take charge of their learning. And so this is our promise, is that we deliver this personalized pathway, and it's from early childhood right through to being an adult, because our Genius School is part of a wider community. And I'll share with you in a moment where Genius School fits within that wider community. But we're all about an educational learning process where it is more student-centered and student-centric and student-focused. And it's to help them to become entrepreneurial. They don't necessarily need to be looking at starting a business, but it's developing this entrepreneurial mindset so that they can use their natural creativity to become these change makers and global citizens and stepping up and making a difference. And so there's the opportunity that they can create a job, or they can learn about how it is to develop a business that they can take forward. And it's within this whole global community of the Genius School. And so our model that we've got here is giving you an idea of the pathway that we take our young learners on. In this first part here, this is our genius school where we have personalized learning programs, we have micro camps, we have micro schools, and they are from early childhood through to 18 years of age. And that is to find and follow their natural genius, as we shared with you in that early definition. Then the next stage is that we provide opportunities for them to have kind of mentoring and apprenticeship, where they're taking their learnings that they have, and we are placing them in environments with successful business people and entrepreneurs who are help them to learn other skills, to take those 21st century learning skills further through in an environment where they're able to apply them, and in that place they're also learning and earning. And then bringing them then into the Genius Academy, which is a lifelong learning environment where we have a whole group of entrepreneurs in the Genius group in this space. And so they're connecting with a lot of people who then are looking at being on purpose, being purpose driven in their businesses, being future focused, and connecting with the United Nations goals, where we're looking at that 2030 focus and even beyond, to have that whole digital business developing. So they are taken through this pathway of success. And then there we have the Genius U platform, which is a global online learning platform. And it works on a virtual genius assistant where we have the artificial intelligence working in the background. So we're using the current modern technology to be able to guide you as you enter into that space. It will provide you with some free micro courses and micro degrees, and then it will give you tips and strategies of who to connect with and who will help you along that pathway. So it is an online global learning platform for anyone who is wanting to make a difference in the world and be connected with like-minded people in that space. So we're just an aspect here about the particular Genius School curriculum that we have. And I'm just going to be looking at the chat, and Susan's going to be there to give me any prompts if there's any questions that are coming up. But this is our solution that we have, and our curriculum is built around a three-pronged framework. The first part is the self-awareness. So this is where we are helping the kids to understand their genius smarts, where they're smart at doing and thinking and behaving and taking action. So it's that self-awareness stage first up. And they're developing that self-esteem, that sense of value, the sense of self-worth as that foundation. And then we build on that with the next stage, which is about self-expression. And self-expression is about the connections that they make. Now that they know who they are, it's making the connections with other like-minded people to then start working in collaborative environments to be able to then express who they are and how they show up. And so some of the future skills that we're exposing them to here in this self-expression stage is the communication globally, the creativity, the critical thinking, the teamwork, and the problem solving. And then in our last stage here, which we have at the top, because we're moving them through stages of development where we're taking them through what we would call levels of learning. So they might start off as a conscious incompetent or an unconscious competent. And then we're taking them through to eventually they're reaching the point where they become this unconscious competent. So what that means is they are just naturally engaging in the activities and the learning and the processes that come naturally to them to be able to master their learning and become that lifelong independent learner in that process. So at that self-mastery level, that's where they will be producing projects and programs and products and businesses that reflect truly themselves, where they are at their happiest and they feel fulfilled in the direction that they're taking. So part of that self-mastery then involves some of the future skills about presentation, being able to be a champion, an advocate, and a voice for what they believe is true to them and something that's important for them. So here you see we've drawn together some of the, what they call the 6 C's. There's many variations of that. There's the 3 C's, the 7 C's, but for us, we're focusing on these 6 C's of education for student and society, and definitely for their longer term well-being, not only their mental agility, but also their personal well-being. So you can see here, if we take over here, right in the middle, we've got the character education. So that's at that self-awareness, giving them a sense of who they are, where they are naturally in flow by understanding their talents and strengths and capabilities, and also to helping them to develop this resilience and grit that they need, particularly in our current society and environment. So that's the character education. And then we start bringing them through in creativity and using their imagination. And every genius is actually creative in their own unique and individual way. And then engaging them through that self-expression of the collaboration they have with others, also developing over here that concept of global digital citizenship responsibilities, and how they can be role models and active leaders within their social environments, whether it be online, whether it be face-to-face. So we're developing those skills and capabilities in that area. And then also down here, looking at that communication, because communication has evolved in different ways of how we communicate in a digital space, but also in an environment which might be face-to-face, and then developing these critical thinking and problem solving. And also to not necessarily problem solving, but problem finding. What are the problems that are in the world, and how can we provide that opportunity for our young leaders to step up to be those creators of the solutions that are there for the problems that are evident in our world. So that's looking at the importance of these skills and the need to prepare our young people for the future world of work. We also said that we would give you some strategies about how they develop self-awareness. So this is one of those strategies. It's about journaling. Now, journaling can take on many shapes and forms. It can be journaling in that you actually have a physical diary or a physical document where you are reflecting and recording daily, weekly, whatever it might be, and you're capturing and reflecting on what you're doing. Or it could be that you wanting to use a digital environment. And if you are journaling, if you want to put something into our chat there about what it is that you might be using as a journaling tool to use that reflective practice as well. And so we see here that we have evidence that most successful people actually do some form of journaling. They do some form of reflection, whether it be personal or professional reflection, but they're capturing that because it allows them to look at, well, how do I tweak things? How do I change things? How do I fine-tune things to be more successful in what I'm doing within my business or within the activities that I engage in that allow me to be successful? So journaling is a great tool for using there. And what it does, it helps a person, particularly in business, to reflect on themselves. And I love this little image here where we have this kitten looking into the mirror, and they're there as a tiger. They're there as strong and resilient and brave and courageous and bold in what they're wanting to do. And the reflective journaling allows us to do that, because it allows us to step back and look at what we're doing and capturing those moments, and then helping us to consider, well, how do I change things, and to go through a series of questions. And if you were on one of our webinars earlier, we looked at the 5 W's and how. So we used our hand to teach our kids how to remember those. So I'll look at those a little bit later, but we ask these open-ended questions when we're reflecting and journaling what we're doing. And this great quote from John Dewey, which says, we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. And that's great, because we are constantly in tune with our journey through life and what we are doing. Now, just to give you a process here, if you haven't done journaling, or you do journaling, if you want to share what your practice might be, but this is just a simple tool for self-reflection. So starting off with the what. So what is it that I am facing here? What is it that I want to capture? What is it that I need to reflect on? What is it that I need to change? So we're using a leading in question that's an open question. And then it might be, okay, I've copied that down, I've journaled that down. Well, so what? And that may be even a why question, because, And if we're asking this so what question, it helps us then to respond in different ways. And some people, for journaling, they just keep journaling until they've kind of emptied out their mind or what's going through their mind. You may journal and you may give yourself a certain time slot because you're busy. So there's different ways that we can do the self-reflection. And then, of course, it's the now what question. Now what do I do to improve? So what was working, what wasn't, so what? And this is, if, as you can see, it's a process that you work around in maybe a cyclical way, but you may come back to a so what, even when you've got the now what. And it's a time component. But as you can see, this little spiral, that as you do this, where you start and where you end up are two different places. And so it's a spiraling up process as you're going through that self-reflection journaling process. So here is some learning benefits from reflective journaling. So it gives you a sense of what is happening. It gives you some sense of where you are and where you need to be. So you're aligning with a future action. You're making decisions, and you're making informed decisions because you're reflecting on that journaling process and what you've captured there for yourself. It also gives you a chance to, get what's in your head down onto documentation to share your thoughts in that process. And the benefits, as we see here, particularly for young people and also adults, is that it increases that level of awareness. It also grows your emotional intelligence. So it's getting you to go, well, if I'm feeling this way, why am I feeling this way? And becoming more intelligent about the way that you're responding to certain circumstances and situations. It can reduce your stress and anxiety, because often if we leave it inside our head, it just keeps churning and churning and churning, and we need to just dump it down into a journal. And of course, your journal is often private. We had one parent share with us on a previous broadcast that they use OneNote, but it's password protected. So it's really a case of, I only want this for myself. I don't want other people to be reading it. But it is a way that you can then just get things out onto a documentation, whether it be digital or whether it be physical. And it increases your self-esteem, because often when you're reflecting, you suddenly see that aha moment where you go, oh, wow, this is amazing what I've been able to achieve, particularly as you reflect back on previous entries that you may have made. So these are some questions that you could even ask yourself if you're thinking, well, I haven't done journaling, so what is something that I can do? Well, these are reflections. Well, how do I feel when? And that's connected to some of your emotional intelligence. What did I learn from this experience? So that's kind of going from the so what into what now? What am I grateful for? And that's reflecting, where you're looking at kind of the bright, shiny silver lining rather than the things that are negative. And then why did I feel this way? Why did I react this way? So again, it's stepping back. Why am I happy, sad, or confused? Reflecting again, and bringing up, often we come from that emotive feeling space before we can move into the logical reasoning space. What could I do differently next time? So these are all great questions that successful people will ask themselves. And of course, they probably have many more questions that they ask, but they have a process that they go through, which helps them to really dig deep into where they are so that they can step up and be successful people. Now, I'm just going to pause there for a moment because I can see that we have any questions, Susan, that have come through that you need to alert me to?
No questions. There's some discussion about journaling with a couple of the folks on the call. Mostly just agreeing. One is from Heidi is, I love journaling daily. Sometimes I capture one sentence that sets me up for the day. Other times it is similar to the self-reflection that you're showing in the program here. Other times I pick a special card, reflect on what that means to me. Also, she says, also gratitude and appreciation is a big part of my journaling. And Sandra was sharing, you also never know what's going to pop out of your pen or pencil. There are surprises sometimes. That's
yeah, absolutely. True. Great sharing there. Thank you for sharing those thoughts with us. That yes, as you can see, Heidi uses different tools to help her do her journaling, and that is really great to be able to use that. If you need some, prompts often that can be a great way, using some sort of different cards, and there's lots of different tools out there that you can use. But you can see that journaling actually elevates you to a higher level. And this is what we're wanting for our young people, is to bring them up into a higher level of thinking, but also a higher level of behavior, a higher level of the actions that they do and the deeds, the words that they say. This is all part of a new beginning for them. So let me take you to another strategy. And this one is called a double bubble map. Now, I just need to grab in my drawer here, because I'll do a different sense of screen sharing here. On the camera, you can see my Venn diagrams, which may be also something that's more familiar to you about what a double bubble is. But this double bubble sounds, a lot of fun, doing a double bubble rather than, oh, let's do Venn diagrams. If we do a double bubble, what we are doing here, you can actually do the comparing and contrasting, so the similarities and differences. And this is a particular tool that is used quite extensively in helping people to raise that higher level of awareness, but also increase their perception on certain things. So as you can see, we have two little circles here, and this is where you would put the two items or the two objects or whatever it might be that you're going to compare and contrast. And then in the middle, there are the similarities. So that's where they overlap, if you're thinking of the Venn diagram. And then on the outer are the differences. Now, how would we use this? These are some things that we have here, or suggestions of how it can be used. So if we're looking at history, we can do a compare and contrast of particular eras of our historical capturing. So for example, we could do the 1930s and the 1980s. So for me, where I come from in Australia, the 1930s were the Depression and the bust years, and the 1980s were the boom and the highlight years, the wealth years, the success years. So if we were to do that and use that as a way of doing a double bubble, we have our 1930s in the circle here, we have our 1980s here, and then we can start to capture, and we can do our investigation, exploration, look at the distinguishing features, and we can start to identify information there. And so when we look at similarities, we can become more informed and more learned about those particular eras. And that helps us to make better decisions even now when we look at that comparing and contrasting. And of course, the fake news is a term that has been with us for a couple of years now. But it's important for us to become more intelligent, more learned when we're looking at the news feeds that we get. So again, here we can use a double bubble. So what happens is, in our circle here, we might put social media, and in our circle over here, we might put a news feed coming from maybe a subscribed service that you have. And then we look at, well, what are the similarities here and what are the differences? And again, it allows us to be involved in discussion and debate and conversations and whatever it might be, because we have increased our level of awareness and our level of intelligence when it comes to the news information that we receive. And what it does, it helps us to make better decisions, because we're not coming from a reactionary sense or an emotive sense. We have actually informed ourselves by using a double bubble. What we do in the Young Entrepreneur Academy, which is one of our micro school programs for Genius School, we actually help our students to understand how they can use this when they're building and growing and developing their business to create their job. For example, they might look at their competitor. And so what they do is they put their business in here, and they put their competitor in here, and they look at, well, what are the similarities and differences? And so they want to find what is unique about them. Just as an example, we had one young entrepreneur who was developing an online maths program. And so she was able to look at, well, what do my competitors put out there on their websites? What do they say? What are the similarities? So it might be the similarity is that you're delivering online math tutorial, But the difference is the price point. The difference is that she is a young person who is talking the language of other young people her age to make maths fun and interesting and engaging and able to help them through that process. Whereas what we found when we looked at the competitors, some of the language they were using was very sophisticated, very dry, and you go, oh, why would you want to engage in online learning with someone that's going to be maybe on the boring side of things? Whereas she was more exuberant and fun in the way that she presented herself in that. So the double bubble is something that you can use. And I will say that when we are using these strategies in our Young Entrepreneur Academy, we're not using them as what I call explicit instruction. We're using it as integrated into the whole learning process so that they know that when they're using this, they can use it in other environments as well. So what happens is we've got this higher order thinking happening where we're looking at two things, both similar and different. We're examining the differences, and then we're also able to apply it to lots of other learning environments and things that might be of interest to us as well. So these are anything. You can apply a double bubble to any particular environment. So we'll just go to any questions that might be happening again.
No questions, although Heidi had asked earlier about whether the recording of this was going to be posted somewhere.
Yes, yes. So we will post a recording into our Facebook Genius School, to which you were invited to join. So it will go in there after the broadcast. Just need time to get that ready. But there will be a follow-up email where we will be sharing these slides as well as giving you access to the recording as well. So thank you for that question.
Okay.
All right, one more strategy, and then I will tell you a little bit about our Genius School solution. So this strategy is looking at the pros and cons. So it allows us to focus on some key words that often our young people, our young learners will be faced with in a traditional schooling environment. They'll be asked to discuss or investigate or summarize or explore. And these are key words that are action words. So this is a tool that helps them to undertake the activity that they need to know how to action that particular assignment or assessment or task. So this is just one that's connected with these key action verbs: the discuss, investigate, summarize, explore, all of that. So it's a pros, cons, and questions thinking tool. Now, the way that we can use that, for an example, is we might have our question about, should young people have a credit facility on their phone after they leave school, that they can just wave over the EFT, FPOS. So we might say, well, what's the pros and cons of that? And so getting them, you kind of exploring this. So what are the negatives about having that? The negatives might be that, oh, they're a higher interest rate, or it may not be safe and secure, or it means that you could end up going into debt at a higher rate because you're constantly using that without tracking what you're spending. The pros might be it's the convenience, and it's just easy to do this, to have it all in one space with you because your phone is with you all the time. And it might be that you can easily access the tools that you've got there on your phone as apps. So there's all different pros, but there's also the cons. And then what that generates for us are some questions. So how would a young person be able to manage their debt at a young age because of having this tool available to them? What do they need to do? Who can assist them to be better attuned to their financial management and how they might budget? So there's questions that come through that. And so what those questions do, it allows us to look at different points of view in regard to this particular topic or concern that may be being discussed. So it explores those negatives and positives from all different perspectives, but it also helps us to look at that. And one thing that we need to cover off is the question component of this is, what type of questions should we be asking? And these are what we call open-ended questions. And so they're the 5 W's and how. And many of our young people probably have heard this. Maybe as parents, you might have heard this as well. But the 5 W's and how allow us to have open-ended questions, which means you don't get a yes or no or maybe answer. You actually get a open-ended and more fuller response to that situation. So this is where from our previous webinar that we held, we were doing the why is the thumb, the what is the pointer finger, the middle finger is the who, the ring finger is the when and the where, and the little finger is the how. So it's a way that we teach our kids, okay, if you can't remember these 5 W's and how, then use this way to learn to have these questions with you at all times. And particularly when we ask these questions, as I said, they are open-ended. So they do result in a deeper dive into what the issue might be, rather than just skidding across the surface. So it's what we would call a lateral thinking. So it's really spreading things across and then diving deep into that process. So any questions that people might have there?
I don't see any questions
All
right
right.
now.
Okay. So let me take you then to sharing with you one of our micro school programs where we apply these strategies and others through the whole process, and the way that we provide a learning framework that supports them. So our Young Entrepreneur Academy is a 4-week virtual camp. We have levels from age of 10 through to 18. And we have them involved where they're learning leadership, but they're also learning how to establish a digital business and then to be able to launch that in the 4 weeks. Now, I'll share with you some stories of success around that, of our young people who have done that and launched their business. And as we stay in contact with them, we see that they're successful in that process. So we've got 60 positions available, and they will spend 1 to 2 hours a day learning how to launch their business. So that time will be spent with mentors, people who have been successful in business, but then also facilitators as well. And Susan was with me on the last program we did as a facilitator. And it's also fun and interactive. They get to meet like-minded young people, and then we have a competition as well, and I'll share some information with you. Now, to share this detail, what I'm going to do is just go to our page, and I will put the link into our chat in Zoom. But also I know that there are people who are also on the Facebook. So Susan, are you on that Facebook, and you can drop a link in there? Great.
Yes, I'll do that.
All right, thank you. So let me explain what the Young Entrepreneur Academy is about. There are 2 startup camps for 10 to 13-year-olds and then 14 to 18. Our next camp is for the 4th of January to the 29th of January. So it's 4 weeks. I'll explain what the commitment is in a moment. But what it is a camp that is going to engage them in creating a job. So they're not going to be trained for a job, they're creating their own future and destiny and the business opportunities for that. There's information here more about Genius School, in that we actually will have a physical location in September 21, but in the meantime, we have virtual and face-to-face programs and camps and micro schools. Then these are reasons for why you would join. We are finding that in our current climate, we have a lot of young people who are being challenged by what is happening. And so this is a program that helps them also to improve their confidence, their self-esteem, their self-worth, their value. And also with the tools that we give them, they have the opportunity, if they apply those skills effectively, to increase their grades as well. But it really is providing that chance for them to develop leadership skills as they develop their confidence. And also what we're finding is, as you see, they're creating deeper connections and stronger family relationships. A lot of our young people are connecting in with mum and dad and sharing their journey, or vice versa. The parents are joining them. And so there's this richer conversation that takes place. We're also, the teen can learn how to effectively and quickly collaborate with others. So that's developing that future collaboration, teamwork, communication, leadership skills, and connecting in with like-minded people. As I said, we have expert faculty mentors who come in and share their strategies. So what happens is we have these young people coming in at their age, and they're being mentored by people who've been in business for quite a period of time. And so there's that faster acceleration for that young person, because they're learning from the mistakes that an entrepreneur has made who now is successful. And so they have less likely chance to make those mistakes because they're learning and earning as they go through the process. They have their facilitators. So as I said, Susan was one of those. I was there. And so we help them to unpack some of what is shared by the mentors and then apply it to the development of their own promotion plan and strategy. And there's lots of accelerated learning that happens. We've shared some of the tools with you, and we use more of those. And here's the nice little juicy bit, I guess, is that we do have an opportunity. We have a competition that runs, and we then have the students at the end, towards the end of the program, they get the chance to pitch to us their particular promotion plan, and they have a chance to win some of our prizes and also some of our cash bonuses in there as well. So this gives you a chance of what your child will get. They will get 4 weeks of expert guidance. So as you can see here, it's on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for 1 hour. Over the 4 weeks, they will be mentored by an expert in business who will be sharing some entrepreneurial strategies with them. Then after the program, or on the other days, on the Tuesday and Thursday, that's when there's facilitators who will be working in smaller groups with them to help them to apply that learning. After the program, we have some ongoing mentoring, so that is available for them. So we help them then to start actioning their milestones they've identified and start to get their business up and running. We also have a profiling talent dynamics for young people, which we get them to complete. And this report is absolutely value. It helps to identify, and it gives them the understanding of who they are as a genius, their natural strengths and capabilities, how they can be successful when they utilize those strengths and capabilities, also how they can find other people to team up with, who they need to be looking for, how they can step up as a leader, how they can learn best by understanding their genius. So they're the components that are there. And as I said, there are 2 camps, 10 to 13 and 14 to 18 years. And those people are engaged within their groups when they go to facilitation. They come together as a whole group to learn. And then in the facilitation is where we're actually mentoring them in junior groups. So there's details here on this page about some of the things that I've shared with you. So there's the profiling, there's the future ready skills, there's the entrepreneurial skills and strategies that are shared by the mentors, there's that global community, and they get to stay with us for a lifetime. So once they come into our community, we continue to support them, and they're there with us for a lifetime. And they also get a chance to earn some startup funds to get their business going. The key learning outcomes that I have here identified are, in a way, the framework that we use to support their learning through those 4 weeks. So we're setting them up for success right from the very start, where they are establishing their future vision, which is going to be something that will be encouraging for them. It will be an inspiration. It will be something that they will keep in front of them at all times, a little bit like that reflective journaling. But this is something that they develop, and that motivates them to step up and develop what we call our profitable project or product or service. And so we spend time also bringing a mentor in, which teaches them some financial components of how to manage and measure their finances, how to budget, how to forecast. They will also develop a promotional strategy for their business and identify their ideal customer. So we're all about exercising those future skills, which is problem finding and solution creation for their customer. We look at how they align their product with their ideal customer, identifying the team that will support them through that process, the different business models that they can have access to, and also how they develop trust. So it's important that when they're taking their customer on a journey, it's building that trust and building that community as well around what they are providing and adding value for that customer, and then launching their program after the 4 weeks. And this is an important part too. It's, well, after the 4 weeks, Is it all over? No, it's not. You know, it's a case of developing that rhythm of how you grow and develop your business. And our young entrepreneurs will learn that. And then, as I said, there's that 4-week bonus session that helps them to continue to develop that rhythm. But eventually, it's a bit like the training wheels on a bike. The training wheels come off and we want them to step forward as they take their journey as a young entrepreneur. Now, if you're interested in this and wanting to know how your child can be involved, you can book a call by going to this page that's in the various feeds, the Zoom location chat, as well as the Facebook. You can book a call and we will have one of our team there who will be talking to you about some of the things that we've discussed, but also to identify the best pathway for your child to engage in this particular program. And we have our faculty here. This is giving you a bit of insight into some of our geniuses behind the scenes, our mentors. And as we have here, we've got people who are visionary, people who are financial, people who are looking at supporting the customer, identifying the customer, people who are there who are about building community, setting your objectives and your goals, looking at the digital tools that you will need to support your business, looking at your health. And we all have to realize that our health is also important. And so we have Joe Formosa, who is our health expert. And then here we have Chiron, who takes us through the process of, okay, let's develop a rhythm so that we can look at being in tune with our business and our business being in tune with us so that everything is flowing along and we're able to manage and grow and develop. And then we also have our Genius certified educators. And this is only a small representation of people who are there as facilitators, working with people behind the scenes. So there's a letter here that's coming from Roger Hamilton and Angie. As I introduced Angie, she is a co-founder, and also Roger is a co-founder in the Genius School movement. And they have a letter here covering some of the topics that I've mentioned, but also going into a little bit more detail about what the curriculum is about and what the Young Entrepreneur Academy is about. So there's a few things that you can do now to step up and take action here. You can apply to join. So you will apply and you will get an invitation as a result of that application to book in a call with our Genius Igniters, who will take you through a process to identify what the journey might be for you over the next 3 months. And also too, it gives you a chance then that when you do engage, it is a 4-week learning and earning and creation program. So it's really taking our young leaders to a higher level and a higher level of thinking, but also a higher level of practice of how they step up and align with their talent, their passion and their purpose, and how they can be involved in earning as they're going through this learning process. So as I said, the course runs from the 4th of January to the 29th of January. We have 3 time zones. So we're trying to cover right around the world so that there is global opportunity for everybody to be involved, no matter where you are in the world. It's all virtual, so it's delivered in this format. So it's interactive with our young learners as well. And there's opportunity to be asking questions. We have a community where it's a private closed community. We're conscious of the fact that we're working with young people. So it's private and closed where they can ask questions and interact with each other. So if you're in this position, you may be an entrepreneur yourself and you have your children that you are wanting to help them to develop this entrepreneurial mindset and this entrepreneurial practice. And you can learn and earn together through this program. So that may be one group who this would appeal to. You may be a homeschool parent and you know that you're wanting to supplement what is happening because you're aware that in your homeschooling environment, you have this flexibility to maybe add some value to what is happening. This is an opportunity for you. It may be that you know that your teen is someone who just isn't connecting in with the traditional schooling processes. This is an opportunity for them to grow. We've had a number of young people who haven't quite fitted in with the traditional schooling, and they have really excelled through that process. I just might grab something here, just as an example. This is one of the products that was produced by one young student who really didn't fit into the schooling system. And as a result of our program for the Young Entrepreneur Academy, he was able to write a non-fiction book, but it was a story about himself. And so that was great to see that Lucas was able to develop that. So that's kind of one example of what can happen from the program. But also too, it might be that you know your child is capable of more than what they're experiencing at the moment, and you know that we can ignite their genius and take them further. So that innate ability that they have, it might be not igniting it, might be reigniting it, because often we have to unlearn what our educational experience might be. So just a few more things. You can go to this page. There's more detail there if you're a person who needs to have a look at that detail in the process. An extra bonus, you can see we've got different values attached to this, but this is an extra bonus that we put in, and this is really geared to the parents to support you as you're having your child engage in the Young Entrepreneur Academy. There's the Genius Entrepreneur Mastermind Group, and this is actually run by Roger James Hamilton, who is the leader of the Genius Group and a co-founder of Genius School. There are monthly calls, and here is where he interviews various successful entrepreneurs, and they get to share their success. They get to share their strategies. They get to share insights. And this is where there is the opportunity to ask questions as well. And we have people there on that call. Roger answers some of those, but also he invites the guests that he has on the call to answer those questions as well. And as you can see, you can get catalogued to all of the recordings, and you get a chance to join a community where there's lots of entrepreneurs, and so they will support your growth. A few of our graduates from the first academy are in that space as well, because they're wanting to step up and really grow their mind and their thinking and step up in that space. We do have a budget option. So this is really a do-it-yourself. You don't get access to the mentors. You don't get access to the facilitation. You don't get access to that personal small group and coaching. It is a micro course, so you can do it yourself, which means you have to navigate your way through the learnings and undertake the activities without any support. But it is a course that you can spread over the 4 weeks. There is an opportunity for a strategy call, but you do get some of the extra tools. You do get the talent tests, which is really for the parents, and the talent dynamics for young people. So you do get those particular tools, which are valuable in themselves. As I said earlier, there's this chance to get some prize money, but also get some extra products that will be supporting the growth of a young person's business. So we have 2 streams. We have the junior and the senior, and we have 3 prize offers there, first, second, third prize across both of the groups. And so what we have happening from the last one, there was products that helped to support, but there was also a cash component which the young person could invest, and many of them invested in some of the tools they needed. Some of them invested in some of the products that they needed to help to build their particular product as well. So it's a great opportunity to get people off to a good kickstart. And just to go down here, Ben was one of our graduating students, and he said, I just wanted to say how much I've learned from the past couple of weeks. I've grown my company, Kidfinity, so much, and much of the credit goes to Genius U and all the great mentors and facilitators. Now going back to school, I feel like the company growth could be jeopardized due to losing 8 to 10 hours a day on schoolwork. I just wanted to extend my thanks for the great Young Entrepreneur Academy program. And so Ben, we've kept in contact with him, and he's continuing to still grow his business. And this is from his mum, Sylvia, who also has made some great comments there about how this whole nurturing program is allowing and opening up and providing greater opportunities for her children. And she's thankful that they've had this transformational learning experience with us for the Young Entrepreneur Academy. So down the bottom there, you'll find a summary of some of the information that you are getting. The application for this is early price of $997 is what you have on offer here. And you can see the value that we've got there. There's the 4-week micro school for the time that you're there with us. There's also the mentoring status on Genius U. There's access to the Entrepreneur Mastermind group for 12 months. There's the different profile tests that are there. And then there's also staying within our community for a lifetime. You are there as long as you want to be there, but it's always this opportunity that we support our young people on this journey. So all you need to do is to complete the application process. It's really quite simple, giving your details there so that we are able to connect with you and communicate with you, and also, why you want to join. It's great if you fill that out because it helps us then when we have the conversation, when our Genius Igniter team have the conversation with you to engage in that. So just checking in if there's any questions before I close
Sorry,
off.
there was only one question from Heidi, and I responded to it, but I'll let you respond as well. She had asked whether students could come back often. And of course I said, yes, they can come back over and over again. Because in fact, I would even recommend that as someone who's gone through a similar program. The repeating of it, you get better at doing the skills that you're taught through the program. So coming back over and over again is a great thing to do. And then she carried on to say, and as he grows older, can he then come in as a mentor himself? So I'll let you speak to that.
Yeah, so well. They're good questions, and they're kind of questions I can answer because we have gone through this journey already. So yes, we have got young people coming back for our next Young Entrepreneur Academy in January, and we have a special offer for them to come back and join us. Part of that program as well, we will be inviting some of our young entrepreneurs, and I'm going to show you some of the success stories. So these young people will be invited back to be youth mentors for our cohort of students. So I hope that answers for you, Heidi, those questions that you have. And just as an example here, these are some of our success stories, I guess. We have many others, but there's only so many you can fit onto a slide at a given time. But these young people range from around about 10 through to 18, and they have wonderful stories. And I'm just going to see if I can share with you. So hopefully, Susan, are you seeing the Watermelon Publishing there now?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So I'll just share some of the stories, success stories in the last few moments I have with you. So Watermelon Publishing is Ella, and she wanted to initially write something about extreme sports or be involved in extreme sports because that's what she was interested in. But as the camp went on, the micro school went on, she started to realize there was lots of things she could do to build this. And so what she was going to do is launch a new company with activity books through the Amazon platform for 5 to 12-year-old girls to inspire role models of positive values whilst having fun. And each activity book that she sold would support girls in education through the buy one, give one. So this is something that we encourage with our young entrepreneurs. When they reach that self-mastery, they understand that there is a process of giving back to add value for less fortunate than ourselves. And so for her, she was going to give a percentage back to support girls in education. So what she ended up doing here with her activity books was to build in the extreme sport component into that as well. So she's identified her customer here, and looking at the fact that there's mums who have their kids at home. They're not having time to do their work at home, but they need their children to be active in something and to also be active in something that's productive. And here, inspiring role models and positive values. So it's through the activity books. So this is Ella's promotion plan that she put together. All of these slides that we have, each of them is something that we take them through to help them to identify. So here we have her objectives, what she wanted to learn, what she wanted to develop, also her promotion plan. So then if I go to even a younger young entrepreneur who is someone I referred to before with Felicity with her maths tutoring, just going down a little bit further here, where she identified her ideal customer, she actually identified the emotion that her customer would be going through. So stressed out Sam is 7. He lives in a certain location, which is where she's located as well. He's not happy. He's bored. He struggles with maths. He really starts to get feeling under pressure, struggling in class and school. And so she comes in as this, and she said to us that her classmates say she's a godsend because she comes in as this saving grace to help them to understand maths a lot easier, and they have fun and they learn maths and they feel as if they're going to be less stressed in that space. So this is her little program that she put together, her promotion plan, what's happening, what's the problems, how she was going to solve that. And so here you can say, she says, I'm a godsend. This is what my proof is in my customer. And then Ben, who was one of our testimonials, Ben with his Kidfinity X. So he has a program here where he's identified his customer, what problem they're experiencing, what he's going to do, how he's going to price it, the problem there, as you see, and also his competitors. So this is where the concept of the double bubble comes in. It's saying, well, what are your competitors doing, but what are you doing different? So, there's great opportunity here for our young people to be involved in the Young Entrepreneur Academy. And I would really love to have your children involved in the process as well. And if I just go back to a closing slide here, because there's a little quote there I think is well worth considering at this point, and that is from John Dewey. If we teach today's students as we taught yesterday's, we rob them of tomorrow. So we would love to have you involved in the Young Entrepreneur Academy program, because it is an opportunity to build that self-awareness, that self-expression, that self-mastery, having them step up and be confident and courageous and bold as they step into their future. So thank you very much for joining me on this broadcast, and we will be holding other strategy webinars, and we'll advertise those or make them available to you through our Facebook. So we really encourage you to join that Facebook community, where you'll be able to connect in with us for future webinars that we hold, which will help you to help your child, to teach them these lifelong skills that they carry forward into the future.
Very good.